What if 6 lions decided to rewrite the laws of the jungle, not just inheriting a throne, but building an empire vaster than any before them? On this journey, you'll discover how the Bila Shaka coalition became legend by dominating 5 prides and challenging even fate itself. Today, you'll uncover the remarkable journey of the Bila Shaka coalition, who conquered 5 prides simultaneously and shaped the history of the African savannah. But this isn't just a story of victories. It's a constant battle against time, loss, and even nature itself. How did these lions manage it? And what is the secret behind their strength and unity? Stay with me until the end, and you'll understand what truly makes them the strongest lion coalition in Africa. In the vast rolling expanse of the Masai Mara National Reserve, with its 583 square miles of golden savanna, 6 young lions were born carrying in their blood the legacy of legends. They were sons of the Notch, a coalition revered for its dominance and endurance through time. As mentioned by the source, the Lion Whisperer, and confirmed by records from local researchers, these young lions were born under the sign of strength and survival. From an early age, they were destined for more than just holding territory. They were shaped to rewrite the rules of the kingdom. The name they would carry would be known throughout the region: Bila Shaka. The Bila Shaka inherited more than a name. They inherited a fierce lineage and the sharp instincts of the coalition that would change the predator dynamics in Masai Mara. The family structure, common among lions, favors the transmission of this kind of strength and territorial behavior, and these young ones learned by watching. Every move their fathers made, every strategic attack, served as a silent lesson. This wasn't just upbringing, it was continuous training in the open field. What set the Bila Shaka apart from the start was the rare combination of physical vigor and collective intelligence. Lion behavior research, such as that conducted by the Mara Predator Conservation Program, shows that successful coalitions tend to share decisions and mutual protection. These 6 brothers, even as cubs, already displayed this natural coordination. They were young, yes, but they grew up with their eyes fixed on something greater than their original pride. And soon they would be ready to step out from their father's shadows. In the African savannah, no name is established without confrontation, and the Bila Shaka would soon find that out. The desire to build an empire, a true domain, would push them beyond the safety of their family pride. The moment of departure was approaching, and with it the first strategic decisions. They were about to begin their silent march, one step at a time, toward a future where strength and unity would dictate the rules. In 2014, the 6 brothers began the most critical phase in a male lion's life, leaving their birth pride. This moment, documented by researchers as a high-risk phase of learning, marks the transition from youth to maturity. The Bila Shaka coalition followed instinct, but also something that can't be taught: a fierce intuition for strategy. The decision to stay together wasn't accidental. According to observations from the Mara Predator Conservation Program, coalitions that remain united after dispersal have significantly higher chances of dominating territories. Over the next 2 years, these young lions roamed the edge of the unknown, learning through experience what their fathers had taught with blood and scars. They avoided direct confrontations with established coalitions like the powerful duo Caribou and Rafiki, known for their brutal territorial defense. But this wasn't cowardice, it was calculation. The Bila Shaka understood that strength without timing is waste, and time was something they knew how to use with feline precision. The cohesion among the brothers proved to be a major advantage. While other coalitions disbanded due to internal disputes, the Bila Shaka advanced as a unit. Sharing hunts, defending together, and recognizing each member's individual skills were decisive factors. As noted by the team from Big Cat Diary, which documented similar behaviors in the Masai Mara, this kind of social intelligence among lions is rare and devastatingly effective. Their reign had yet to begin, but it was already taking shape behind the scenes of the savannah. By 2016, the six finally made a decision that would change the region's history, to permanently leave their original pride and establish their own empire. The coalition was no longer just a promise, it had become a name to be feared. The legacy was in motion. What lay ahead? Unknown fields, filled with the scent of blood, power and opportunity. Throughout 2016 and 2017, the Bila Shaka began a silent campaign of observation. They avoided direct clashes with dominant coalitions, especially Caribou and Rafiki, two males known for their strength and aggression, as documented by guides from the governor's camp collection. The brothers knew that patience was a weapon as sharp as fangs. Instead of attacking, they waited, and the opportunity came. When their rivals left the territory, a strategic gap opened. The swamp, a region with a high density of prey and fertile females, was left vulnerable. The Bila Shaka moved with precision, eliminating threats with coordinated attacks. The takeover was clean, with no reports of prolonged confrontations. As reported by local researchers from the Mara Triangle Conservancy, the group's efficiency surprised even the most seasoned observers. It was there that the coalition began to be recognized not only for its strength, but for its territorial intelligence. With control of the swamp came the first lionesses, and with them the first cubs. Early signs of a legacy in the making. The strategies used by the Bila Shaka reflected a rare understanding of the balance between expansion and stability. The ancestral legacy began to spread across the territory. These new lives weren't just descendants, they were living heritage. And with that, the empire began to grow from within. But the conquest of the swamp was just the first piece on the board. Now established, the Bila Shaka watched the movements of neighboring prides. The surrounding fields whispered of new opportunities. The borders were still shifting, and the coalition, with all six members still united, had bigger plans, and they knew the moment to ascend the throne was drawing closer. In 2018, the Bila Shaka coalition broke the silence with a feat that few lions ever achieve in their lifetime. They conquered 3 distinct prides in just 2 months. As reported by guides from Asilia, Africa, this kind of simultaneous expansion is rare and requires a unique combination of strength, synchronicity, and luck. Their territorial control expanded almost geometrically, and with it, their lineage spread like wildfire across the savannah. The secret to their success lay in strategic division. Instead of staying together, the Bila Shaka understood that protecting the territories required intelligent dispersion. They split into pairs and trios, covering wide areas and maintaining control over fertile females. In doing so, they increased both their reproductive potential and their defense against intruders. According to data from the Mara Predator Conservation Program, this kind of behavior is typical of highly cohesive and extremely dominant coalitions. Among the 6 brothers, one in particular stood out: Labal. His dark mane and impulsive behavior made him a prominent figure in reports from rangers and photographers in the region. He was the first to charge into confrontations and the last to retreat. There was a bravery in him that bordered on recklessness, something admired yet also feared. His deeds began gaining notoriety among visitors and researchers. The name Bila Shaka, once whispered among experts, was now spoken with reverence. This was a new phase. It was no longer about survival or mere conquest. It was time to rule. And ruling in the savannah is not for the weak. It's for those who understand that keeping an empire requires more than sharp fangs. It requires vision. But every great rise carries within it the weight of what's to come. And the throne doesn't always protect against inevitable losses. The tragedy that shook the Bila Shaka coalition happened at the end of 2019, when Labael, the most fearless of the brothers, was fatally wounded while facing 3 young invading lions alone. The clash took place during the patrol of one of the outer areas of the territory, and as recorded by observers from the Mara Predator Conservation Program, it was an act of reckless bravery. He was alone. His body was found bearing deep battle scars, surrounded by signs of intense struggle. The Empire felt the blow. The Bila Shaka's response was immediate. The brothers followed the trail left by Labayal to the site of the battle, but it was already too late. Grief took over the coalition, and for the first time their unity was tested. Reports from local Masai Mara guides indicate that the lions stayed for hours beside their brother's body, sniffing, touching, vocalizing, a rare and moving display of mourning observed among big cats. They hadn't just lost a warrior, they'd lost part of the group's soul. Labayal had been more than a defender. He was a symbol of courage. His death served as a warning. The coalition understood in a cruel way that even the strongest are vulnerable when they act alone. And in the savannah, momentary weakness is always watched by hungry eyes. The loss of their brother didn't diminish the group's strength, but it made them more calculated, less impulsive. A subtle yet decisive shift in the course of their reign. Even with broken hearts, the coalition didn't retreat. Like old generals who keep marching even after losing a commander, the Bila Shaka reorganized. They knew Labayal's death couldn't be in vain. 5 remained, still lethal, still united, and soon new territories would appear on the horizon, testing just how far this renewed strength could go. Even with only 5 members, the Bila Shaka coalition showed that their power wasn't just in numbers, but in cohesion and strategy. Shortly after Labayal's death, the brothers expanded their territory, conquering 2 more prides of lionesses and cubs. According to records from the Mara Predator Conservation Program, this expansion meant the Bila Shaka came to control 5 different groups simultaneously. A very rare feat documented across the entire Masai Mara Reserve, which spans 1,510 square kilometers of rich and contested savanna. Among these new territories, one came to be led by Doa, one of the most discreet yet loyal brothers. Isolated in terms of territory, Doa became a sort of lone sentinel. But he was never truly alone. His brothers frequently visited and reinforced his position, protecting his lionesses and cubs. As noted by observers from Big Cat Diary, this division of roles shows an almost military level of organization, where each member has a specific role within the reign. The Bila Shaka lineage thrived like never before. Preliminary genetic studies conducted by local conservationists suggest that the sons of these lions had already surpassed their fathers in number of descendants, spreading their dominant conquest DNA across the region. The legacy now ran through dozens of new cubs, shaping the ecosystem's future. More than just conquering, the Bila Shaka were leaving a deep mark on the natural balance of the Masai Mara. This was a time of apogee. The empire was at its peak, borders were secure, and the winds of the savannah seemed to whisper respect where there once was only rivalry. But something more subtle was growing behind this calm, a time that charges every reign the price for greatness. The past had been honored, but the future was beginning to ask difficult questions. Despite their growing dominance and undeniable power, the Bila Shaka never forgot where they came from. In behavior that surprised even veteran Masai Mara guides, the 5 brothers allowed their elderly parents, the legendary Notch, to remain safely within the territory's borders. As recorded in field journals by Asilia Africa conservationists, this decision is rarely seen among lions, since young males typically expel their predecessors to avoid genetic competition. But the Bila Shaka followed a different code. They recognized that part of their strength came from legacy, not just blood, but example. The unity, the coalition vision, the way they led battles and protected the lionesses, it had all been learned alongside the Notch. The presence of the old lions, even without the strength to hunt or fight, was a silent reminder that every empire begins with deep roots. They were no longer leaders, but they were symbols. And symbols, in the savannah, still command respect. This mutual respect led to a peaceful and rare coexistence. Even when the Notch could barely walk, the Bila Shaka tolerated them in the pride's shadows, sharing territory and even kills. As noted by researchers from the Governor's Camp collection, this demonstrates advanced social intelligence, a kind of ancestral pact that transcends immediate instinct. It was as if the heirs understood that greatness lies not only in conquering but in preserving what shaped them. Time, however, is relentless. One by one, the old Notch passed away quietly. The memory of the Notch now roared in new bodies, and as the past rested, the Bila Shaka Empire continued to grow, leading the coalition into a new, even more ambitious chapter. In 2021, the Bila Shaka still reigned over vast portions of the Masai Mara Reserve. With consistent visual records from Masai sightings teams and the Mara Predator Conservation Program, it was confirmed that even after so many years and losses along the way, the coalition remained active, patrolling territories, protecting lionesses, and strengthening their offspring. Over the course of their journey, the brothers had dominated at least 5 different lion prides, becoming one of the most successful coalitions ever recorded in the region. Doa, although leading an isolated territory, remained under the watchful eye of his brothers. Their cohesion remained intact, and every reunion among coalition members was marked by clear signs of affection and recognition, a rarity among adult lions. The Bila Shaka were not just warriors. They were brothers in the truest sense, shaped by a shared purpose and common past. The reign they built wasn't just the result of brute strength, but of social intelligence. Beyond territory, the coalition's genetics had now become a permanent part of the ecosystem. As noted in publications by the NGO Lion Guardians, the sons and daughters of the Bila Shaka had spread across various regions, carrying forward the unmistakable marks of the lineage: dense manes, dominant posture, protective behavior. Many of these cubs were already growing into future nomadic males, potential successors, heirs of the strength that had reshaped landscapes and stories in the Masai Mara. But even with all that legacy, the future always brings new challenges. The savannah never stands still for long. Young coalitions form, old territories are coveted, and every roar on the horizon carries the promise of change. The name Bila Shaka still echoes as a living legend. But time always demands new battles and new leaders. And maybe now, it's time to watch what comes next. So, what do you think? Did the story of the Bila Shaka make you rethink what you know about leadership and legacy? If even lions can teach us something about strength, unity and resilience, imagine what that could mean for us in our own journeys. And tell me, what else do you think can be learned from these incredible coalitions? Does genetics really decide who leads? Or is there something more behind all that strategy and unity? If you're curious to learn more about the wild world and its powerful lessons, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Nature's story is full of surprises, and who knows what comes next. See you in the next video, where we'll explore even more secrets you never imagined about the kings of the jungle.